It's a long time in coming, a year in the making, but I'm squeaking it in right before the 1 year mark. It's time to look at rags. Let's do it. Hey, everybody, this is Perch. This fits into kind of it's interesting when you do reviews or you talk about a book or a project. If you think about it too much, or at least this is me, if I think about it too much, then a lot of time goes by and I kind of think about different angles and different things I want to do with things. And I never get to it. The ideas grow out of control to the point where, you kind of psych yourself out from doing things. So, this has been the case with Rags, a book I've enjoyed by a team I've enjoyed for quite a long time. And there's a lot of ins and outs with that, both with the book and the team. I think from the people, it's a really good group of folks who put this book together. Brian Ball, Trent Luther, Luigi Teruel. I'm sure I butchered at least one of those names somewhere along the line, and of course the motion capture of Liz Finnegan, who is Rags. I mean, we're assuming. I have not seen as much of Liz as I have of Rags, so I'm assuming that the motion capture there is accurate. That sounds pervy right out the gate. Anyway, so what is Rags? Well, Rags is a comic published by AP. You can get digital copies and other things online. There's a Patreon from the team where you can get a lot of kind of background material. And one kind of unique thing about this group is because they own the properties, they own the product, they continue to invest their own time and energy into everything, whether it's merchandise or different illustrations or different kind of versions, censored and uncensored versions, etc. There's just a lot of care to this particular project. So if you see the statements online, this is a book that the team is saying they're gonna get completed, and then they're gonna stop. They did the comic they wanted to do, and then they're moving on, which is an unusual statement a little bit. Most people are in comics for the long haul. One book is just a stepping stone to the next book. But you do get the feeling from this team that they are trying to do everything they can with this book, get everything that they want out of it, and explore every kind of facet from top to bottom. And then, when it's over, it's over. That is what they're promising. That's what it feels like as well. In terms of a book, this is a like like The Walking Dead and like some other series that call themselves zombie books, but they're really not about zombies. Rags is something different entirely. Yes, there are zombies in this book. Yes, they are trying to eat people, and they've got the same kind of shuffling, growly, bitey kind of mode that a lot of zombies products have. But the zombies are very much, more so than The Walking Dead, more so than other zombie movies or books out there. It's telling a different story entirely. So what this comic is about, I think, probably differs a little bit on who you ask and how you read it. But to me, there's two big themes that come out of the book. One is the handling of kind of PTSD and what it means to live with that and have it in your life at all times, not just in the exciting, flashy ways that you sometimes see it in movies, but in the boring ways, in the off moments, in the trying to get to sleep moments, as Regina is trying to just rest. She's been up for a long time. The PTSD is there with her. It's the blanket that's always around her shoulders, and kind of what does that mean for the character? And the other is a little bit. I'm not sure I'll get the right description here, but it's a military book. And what I mean by that is that it's not like a Larry Hama production or anything like that, but there's an authenticity to the military writing and kind of the banter back and forth between characters. It's not just when a lot of people think military books, and this has really been true for a lot of crowdfunding books, they talk about kind of some aspects of the military, and that tends to mean they're going to reference the gun properly, and they're going to draw the gun properly. But in this, you get a lot more of kind of the what it means to what is the military culture, both inside the military and then once you leave the military. Now, a lot of movies and books and shows kind of have hinted around with this, and they purport to kind of do it one way or another. But Rags actually does it is authentic. It feels like what it's like to be around people from the military. Now, did not serve in the military. I have immense respect for people who do. I have hired many people out of the military in my time. I've hired people who left the base and started work the next day, so zero kind of transition from one to the other. I've got very, very close friends who are in the military, and so when you're reading this book and you're seeing kind of the dialogue back and forth between Regina and the operator, or different um, different characters, it does ring very, very true. And that's you'll notice when you read this book, it feels unique from that reason. The whole interaction between people is special. It's something you haven't read before. People listen to a lot of my videos. You know that I do like things that are new, that are unique, and where they're trying something different. Rags absolutely is trying something different. And you might not expect that if you've just looked at the cover or looked at kind of basic things. You've got an attractive girl, you've got a little bit of TNA, you've got zombies. Can't be more than that. But you'll notice that I haven't even gotten to the TNA yet. There's plenty of that, and it looks quite good. And the zombies are very much a setting threat, but not the threat. And the other thing you're not going to get in this book is a lot of zombie books want to tell the story of what it means to, the real monsters are the humans, the ones who are left behind. This was definitely the theme of a lot of the Dawn of the Dead type movies, where the real villains are the living and how they're going to behave. And that was the same thing with The Walking Dead. That with the threats, the big threats, were the governor or with Negan or with these other people, not the zombies. The zombies became secondary. Well, here you definitely have jerk people out wandering around. You also have the threat of the zombies, but the real kind of dynamic, or the threat, the driving purpose, as I mentioned, was it is this PTSD aspect, and it's the fact that neither Regina or the other people that she encounters, nobody's really a good guy. I mean, it's you look at this and you're supposed to be rooting here for Regina, but she is not the hero, in the sense of she's not not all powerful. She gets punched in the face a lot. She makes mistakes. She slips. She treats others who try and help her very poorly at times. She's angry. There's a lot of aspects to her personality and her character that are just not pleasant. And even when you think you know where things are going, like the friend that she makes at the beginning, the boy who has a crush on her, or whatever that kind of dynamic is, it's still, none of it feels safe, none of it feels good, and there's not a true good guy. There's people you're reluctantly kind of cheering along, but there's not the simple good character, bad character. Most people are out for their own self-interest, or are battling with PTSD, or are struggling against this new environment. So you're left with a book that does not let you feel safe. It does not let you feel comfortable, either with the characters in the situation, or as a reader, where you kind of know where things are going, and it's just going to play out like you've seen a lot of zombie books play out. This is not a zombie book. So there's a lot of really kind of interesting and unique aspects here in terms of what it does, both from Regina's point of view and what she sees and kind of how she interacts. And you see her barely holding on to kind of her sanity and her ability to grapple with all this. You also get an interesting story narrative, where you start out in one place, you kind of back up a little bit, fill in some of the backstory, but it's not like a flashback. It's something where you're going to take a little diversion. You're going to learn a little bit about how she got here, her fiance, kind of the fights they were having, some of the dynamic, and then it's going to catch us back up to present time, and we're going to continue forward with the story. There's humor. She's searching for pants because she doesn't have any. They do a good job of explaining why she's running around in a bikini, basically, and then then nothing at different times. And some of those are slow burn things. At the very beginning, she's there. She loses her top as the zombie kind of grabs it, rips it off. And then a couple pages later, she shows up again, and now she's lost everything. There are no pants. And you're like, oh, when did this happen? This happened off panel. A couple issues later, several pages later, we get around to showing what happened there. So it's like nothing is forgotten, and that's cool. So it's a nice dynamic. I like the back and forth. I like the use of kind of flashbacks to her time in the military, to how she got to a situation, and everything else. And you really get that sense of struggle. Are there absurd things here? Absolutely. I mean, you've got zombies, you've got a girl in a bikini, you've got nudity, you've got boobs flying around everywhere. I mean, yeah, absolutely. There are some ridiculous things. There are some despicable people. Not all the despicable people get, you know, punished. Some of them get away and wander away. Two guys kind of torture Regina, do some not, you know, some terrible things to her, and then leave, punch her in the face, and just take off. And you know, there's no, you don't get a page, you know, later where they're dead, or you know, some revenge happens. You don't get that. They just, you know, bad things happen in the world. I've avoided talking it to this point, but it's now time to kind of dive into that. The artwork. The artwork is well, it's extremely good, and I say that on two fronts, both the art itself and the coloring. So the art is unique. You know, there's a different style at play here. It's sound. There's definitely some TNA aspects to it, no doubt about it. You're you know you're picking up a book with zombies and a girl in a bikini. You are going to get a delivery where that is concerned. But beyond that, you have a sparse use of color. You've got kind of very, you know, a lot of really well done grayscale and kind of some ink spray techniques that are used to provide some really nice texture to the page. It's a very good looking book from an art standpoint. The muscles are good. The tattoos on Regina are good. How they're colored in, how the characters are moving around and jumping and falling, and you know, parts of the body that are you know, certainly exploitive in terms of she's very well endowed, but when she falls and when she trips and when she moves, it's, you know, the body is being, it's proportioned and the parts are moving in a way that actual human parts would move. One of the complaints I have with certainly in the 90s, you had a lot of artists who would come in there and they draw very, you know, big chested, you know, the heroines, and then they would fly or do other things, and it's clear that the artist just had a very kind of vague understanding of breasts and other parts of the human body. And so it would look very, very silly. Well, here it actually looks like if the person would fall, this is how they would fall, slide across a card, jump, pick up a rifle, whatever else, it looks accurate. So the art is really, really well done, and you know, they don't skimp on backgrounds and shelves and rubble, and just all parts of this are, it's you don't feel like any of the art's cheaping out. It's a good product. This is a good, very, very good thing to pick up, and it's cheap. And when I say by cheap, I mean you can come into this thing. There's a bunch of different options for what you can get for the physical book or for the digital version. You can join the Patreon. There's a lot of different ways to get on this. For less than $10, you can get the entire story in at least one format, and that's a pretty good deal too. You get about, you know, I think not quite 200 pages worth of work for under $10. That's a lot better than what others offer, and you do get a complex story. You get something that's well written. You get something with some depth to it, and it's a solid book. So I highly recommend it. I think it's a great title. I think it's doing some unique things. I like the exploration of PTSD. I like the authenticity to the military that just does not exist in a lot of places. I like the fact that there is not a clear-cut good guy that you're just supposed to cheer. You're having to kind of reluctantly kind of attach yourself to different people in this mix. And it's a good product. You can tell that the people making it actually care about what they're making. And in today's day and age, unfortunately, that's rare. And like some other creators that I've mentioned in the past, this group is trying to do something new. They're not just doing the same old story. They're putting out a new product with some new ideas to it. The team has, you know, on social media. I'm not even going to begin to pretend that I know all the ins and outs of how the creators have interacted with various people. All I know is, in general, their approach to fan service is quite strong. And what I mean by fan service, not the kind of the traditional manga way, but I mean, you know, when somebody says, "I'd like some merchandise of a certain type," I'd like, you know, I'd like this T-shirt or this bag or this illustration or whatever else, they tend to hustle to get it to you, and that's first of all really admirable, very impressive. It's something that others can't do in a lot of stand, like Marvel and others who who license out parts of their product, they're limited by what they can do. This team is not. So they do whatever they want and as often as they want. And if you need something special, they're probably going to figure out how to get it to you. From hats to posters to mugs to lunch boxes to buttons. I mean, it's anything you might want if you want to be in on this world. You got it. If you want different styles, either of the main character or unicorn onesies to Sailor Moon type outfits to more military gear to just straight up bikini, whatever you want, they have it for you. So definitely, good stuff there. Is this for your kids? No, of course not. But is it a good comic book that is just going to give you some entertaining reading and give you an immersive story and a lot of it for a great price? Yeah, absolutely. Rags is published by Antarctic Press, but you can get copies direct online. You can get digital, as I mentioned, by going to newageninjacorps.com. That's a great place to go. We'll have all the links on here. But I would definitely recommend go check it out. Support the team. They're a good group of people, and they do definitely have a nice one-on-one interaction with fans. And for that reason, there's been a decent amount of people that have gone and tried to crap on them and attack them because they're not, submitting to one group or the other. They're just focused on putting out a good comic. And then, like they are claiming, when they're done putting out that comic, being done and moving on and doing something else with their lives. I hope not. I'd like to continue to see work from these guys. All in all, highly recommend it. Go check it out. Rags. It's a team that cares about the group. And Brian Ball, Trent Luther, great story there. Art by Luigi Teruel, and visual effects, Raven Monroe, edited by Maj Debbie Holland, and starring Liz Finnegan as Regina, who all of which I think you can find on Twitter, on Facebook. Go check them out, see what's interesting there, and hey, go in for a very low price point. You can experience this world. Have you seen this comic? Do you enjoy it? Have you looked at it? Please leave me a comment below. What do you like about it? Don't like about it? Whatever it happens to be. Again, is it for everyone? No, but it's for quite a few people, and I'm a big fan of it. I think it's great, and much love to that team. Like, subscribe, whatever you'd like to do. Follow me on Twitter, Comic Perch, and thanks for listening.